Oh shit. Welcome, episode 2, Starla Play Football. Myself, Theo, Kojo. What you saying? How you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We're midweek. What is it? Hump week. They call it hump week or whatever, man. We're here. We're middle of the week. All of that stuff, man. But yeah, man, I'm good, man. I'm good. Glad to be here, man. Talking football as always. But before we get into today's episodes, all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Yeah, links, all that stuff in the description as well. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast now that's up and running, the Twitter account, or what they call it now, X. What do we still call it? Twitter. People still call it Twitter.
Yeah, we still call it Twitter, but it's called X now. It's weird.
X. It's cool. Subscribe. Follow the Twitter, man. About X. Follow the Twitter. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, man. But yeah, I want to quickly, obviously, before we jump into everything, let's go back to the last weekend, week 2, Premier League. So we had the first game, Nottingham Forest. 2-1 against Sheffield United. That was on the Friday. Big bumper of a fixture list on Saturday. Brentford beating Fulham 3-0. A red card for Fulham. Liverpool went on to dominate the game against Bournemouth, although they were losing 1-0 1 point, but they went on to win 3-1. Wolves lost to Brighton 4-1. Obviously, Kojo, why you're here, but Tottenham beating United 2-0. We're going to get into that one. Newcastle losing 1-0 respectfully to Man City. Sunday, obviously the day that I don't want to remember, but Arsenal? Well, I got Arsenal on the brain. Aston Villa done well, beat Everton 4-0. Chelsea, of course, lost 3-1, albeit to 10 men to West Ham. And then Monday night was a really good game. I enjoyed that. It was Crystal Palace and Arsenal, who I thought was a very good game. I thought Palace were unlucky in spells. But I want to start off with any shockers. I mean, was there any games, any results there? And I don't mean United. I mean,
No, yeah.
I've got my own shockers, but is there any shockers out of those fixtures, those results, and you think, did not see that one coming?
I think the only one that I didn't see coming was the Chelsea one, only because I'm still unsure, even though West Ham have done well. They've won the Europa League, but I'm unsure about David Moyes, and I think I'll always be unsure about him because you just don't know what West Ham you're going to get. And I know Chelsea's team is still new. Still new, still have young players, it's still growing. They're still trying to learn how to play with each other and everything. So it's not that I expected them to win per se, but with 10-man West Ham, I thought, yeah, they will grab something from this. And looking at how the game went, Chelsea didn't play bad. So that's why I was shocked by that. But I think that'll be the main one for me. Other than that, other results, yeah, I think I can make peace with the other ones, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you a little bit about Chelsea. I'm still unsure about us. I'm not at panic stations. I'm not like a lot of the Chelsea fans now. They're sort of talking about, we're gonna, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to get back in the transfer window. I agree with all of that. I think we do need to get back in the market, but I think there's still a lot of progression being made, and I can see that from the Liverpool game. I can see that at the West Ham. I can see it in the preseason game. So I agree with you. Like, to lose. When West Ham went to 10 men, you expect Chelsea to come back into the game. I think the penalty was very decisive for Chelsea. I think the Enzo miss could have been a turning point in the game, but lottery of things when they come to penalties. You either win or you don't. You either score or you don't score the penalty. But I'll be 100% honest. I was probably shocked at 2 results. One being the Palace one, because I thought Palace might get really turned over by that Arsenal team. I know that they haven't got Jesus, and but I still thought Arsenal. I remember watching their opening game, and they looked fiery. They looked like they were ready for anything. So I thought they might lose by more than 1 goal. And I thought, credit to Palace, because they had their chances. Ayew, I thought, played really well for them as well. I just think they are lacking something. Obviously, that they're lacking something in attack for me. And Edouard, I thought, played okay as well. But the one that did shock me as well, and I'm not just saying it because you're here and because you're a United fan, but I did think you. I mean, I'm still again apprehensive about Spurs because Harry Kane was the one that was the goal scorers for them. Yes, they had Son chipping in or other players, but Harry Kane was the one that was getting the goals for them. So I did think you'd win that game. I'll be honest. Well, let's talk about United a little bit because I mean, it still feels like a learning curve for Ten Hag. And I still feel, obviously we touched on it a lot last week, but it still feels like a learning curve in terms of like there's missing pieces to the puzzle. But even with those players that you might need to bring in that we spoke about last week, do you trust Ten Hag? I suppose is what I'm saying. Have you got full backing? Are you backing fully right now to say that he's the man that can get you to the Pep City level and get you back at that title conversation?
I do trust him. I wouldn't send any pressure his way, so simply because I think I told you before. My thing is I give managers 3 years to build your team, free summer transfer windows to build your team, and then I want to see what the mission is in that third season. When you're going for it. That said, I feel like he doesn't really know what he wants to do with these players yet. And I know it's not solely his job. Scouts are involved in everything as well. You know how players are scouted and stuff, but the talent ID is worrying me a little bit, and I'll explain why. It goes far beyond the game, but just on this game alone, if you look at how he played, and if you compare it to how he played against Wolves were very open, unnecessarily open, and you could see there was a lack of chemistry, cohesion, whichever word you want to use, between the midfield three. So I'm thinking in this game, try and do something to either help them out or like maybe instruction-wise tell them to be a bit more compact so they stay a lot more closer. That didn't happen. In the first half, yes, we were a better team than Tottenham. We should have scored about 3 goals. We missed stupid chances that should have been goals, if I'm just going to be very, very honest with it. But you could see it was Casemiro, who is now the scapegoat, by the way, for so many people. And then you have Mason Mount here, and you have Bruno Fernandes here, and there's no, you know what I mean? And that's on and off the ball. And because of that, Casemiro's left to sink. And the thing I keep making this point, I've had to make this point about 10 times this week, is there's not one defensive midfielder in the history of football that will be able to handle 5-6 players coming at him at the same time of high level.
Impossible.
Son, great footballer. Madison, great footballer. Bissouma, very, you know what I mean? Like, this quality coming at, it's impossible. And it's the same thing I always say, if I just want to get off the match for just a second, when you talk about Messi and Ronaldo and what they've done with their teams, I always say, yeah, phenomenal footballers, but they're not going to be able to do what they did without at least competence behind them. The team needs to work as a whole. Ten Hag needs to figure out what he wants to do with that midfield. But I think he's stubborn. And I think that's his stubbornness is going to let him down. And I think the place where he's most stubborn is Anthony.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
The Anthony project's not working, man. Anthony's not the reason why we lost, or rather, he's not the only reason the team lost, but the project is not working. It's not working. It's bad. He's breaking down attacks, and far past the whole thing with me saying that if he just uses his right foot to even dribble, control the ball, pass the ball, it's not just that now. He's not getting into areas where he could make enough trouble, danger. I think we spoke about it last week where I said, if you get a much better attacking fullback, so he can cut in a bit more and they can just overlap him, it'll work for him. Absolutely. But this is where I also make the point that as much as I say it's, the best individual players can't do the whole job without their team being competent behind them or around them. My issue with him is he's just not doing anything right. And that's just the point blank period of it. He's just not doing anything right. And quite frankly, right now, I'm looking to see more Pellistri on the pitch than him, because Pellistri is a lot more unpredictable. He's a lot more direct. And it seems like his decision-making is higher than Anthony's at this moment in time. But the midfield is the biggest issue. And Mason Mount is not the biggest issue in that midfield, in my opinion. I think if anyone had watched the game and taken off the whole going on Twitter and saying he made 27 passes in, I don't know, 80 minutes. That's poor. That kind of stuff doesn't concern me. His job, number one, was to press, and he pressed well. His job, number two, more often was to break up play, and he broke up play really well. A couple of good tackles, passing. He's a midfielder. Just because he's a creative guy doesn't mean he shouldn't get his foot stuck in there and help the team defend. That's what you want your pressing players to do, right? Win the ball up high at the pitch, so you don't have to think about doing defensive work. It collapsed, and he wasn't the biggest issue there. I think Bruno Fernandes was the biggest issue.
You think?
Yes, and the reason why I say Bruno Fernandes, not to say that he's to be dropped or anything for anyone that's listening.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that for someone who has been in the Man United team and midfield the longest out of the trio, and he's the captain, I need a bit more composure and leadership from him in terms of on the ball and off the ball. You can't be so far wide and away from your other midfielder. If you see Mount is going that way, and you see Casemiro's by himself shifting a little bit, naturally do these things.
Makes sense.
Yeah, just because I feel like you're allowing players to sink around you, and it's not looking good on you. And Tottenham took full advantage of that. And I'll say this right now. I'll never say his last name because I don't want to butcher until I actually know how to say it properly. But Ange, the Tottenham manager, great manager. And the reason why I liked him, and the reason why I went on Twitter and I said Tottenham have made a very good appointment here, is because even at Celtic, and I know it is Celtic, Rangers, they dominate. Gerrard came here, didn't work out. This is someone who he knows his philosophy. He knows, and he's not afraid to use the players that he has at his disposal when he joins the club to make sure his philosophy works. And if you can't work with it, you get dropped out. Notice how Oliver Skip is getting a lot more football than Højbjerg.
Yeah.
By a country mile already. Højbjerg can't play my style of football until he gets used to it and adapts to it. Skip will be the guy because Skip knows how to do it. Bissouma knows how to do it. He's going with it. Even the left back, Udogie, straight away.
Yeah. He's good as well.
He's very good, and he's using them to his disposal. And said, this guy can play football for me, so I'm gonna make sure he plays in my team. He got Van de Ven next to Romero. It works. Emerson, Spurs fans don't like him, but it's working. He's very, very precise and he knows what he wants to do, and that's why Tottenham's football's working. Tottenham will always be shaky, just like many teams. Every team's got a bit of a shake in them, but he's sticking to his philosophy, and that's why you saw the difference in between United and Spurs. Spurs look like they really know what they want to do on the ball, whereas, minus Richarlison, and United look like they don't know what they want to do because Ten Hag at this point is still trying to figure out what's best to do with his players. But if I'm going to be honest, drop, in my opinion, next game, you have to drop Anthony, and you have to drop Wan-Bissaka. And you know what? It might be time to start looking at Luke Shaw a little bit as well, if I'm going to be very honest. Those three let me down big time. And they're not the only reason why we lost. Again, I'll always make that clear, but those three in particular let me down big time.
You need more.
And the final thing, stop playing Rashford as a striker, because I don't know why he's doing it. I just don't know why he's doing it.
He looked burnt out. I'll be honest. I said to someone, and I think it was the Wolves game. It wasn't even Spurs, but he looks burnt out already, Rashford. But I think someone said that's how he starts his seasons. I mean, I don't follow Rashford that well, but apparently he starts his seasons quite slow, and then he gradually builds into them, and then you normally see like a big, massive peak of him, and then he peaks and troughs and all that. But if you're playing for Man United, you only got the luxury of hiding. Like we just spoke about Anthony there. You can't hide. If you play for United, you can't hide and say that, you're going to play well out of 35-40% of the games. You have to give 100% every single game. And that's how United has always been. So I agree with you 100% with Anthony. I think I've watched him now, obviously since he's been at the club. And I don't know what he brings. I don't know what his best qualities are. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know what he does in that team that justifies, maybe it's just a price tag. I don't know. Obviously, Ten Hag, I think, worked with him before, didn't he? At Ajax, I'd assume. Yeah. So maybe there's something that he sees in him that we don't see or we don't understand. But I just look at him and I just think, when you've got the ball, I know that's not going to get in the box. I know you might not beat your man. I know you're going to probably look elsewhere before you try and go forward and get that ball in the box. I know you're going to do that. I know you're going to lose this ball. And he doesn't offer much. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking at it from a very
No, you're not wrong.
way.
You're not wrong. The thing is, let me just be very honest. I'm just going to be very blunt with this. Ten Hag needs to realize that this is not Eredivisie. It's not working.
Yeah,
it's not working. Stop it.
It's true.
On a real level, just stop it. I'm telling him off like he's my kid. Stop it. Stop it. It's not working. The guy is, not only is he too left-footed, there's such a thing where you're just too one-footed, where you restrict yourself. He's making it harder for himself. Your team can't have counter-attacks, and because you're so left-footed, you get to a position and you have to either try your best to cut in somehow or turn back because you don't know how to beat the player or you don't know how to get into a good enough position or do one. That is, bro, it's not working. It's not working. Same thing with Rashford. This one I'm making an issue with this front three right now because Rashford's runs are too linear. It's just straight direct.
Yeah.
So that's why again, I don't even call it. I call it throw the ball and fetch football. It's like Rashford.
It's easy for defenders as well. That you see when someone's just running like that, a defender, a good defender, will be able to just read that before it's even happened. So
it's too easy. Oh, let me watch videos on Man United. Bruno Fernandes plays a long ball over the top to Rashford when he's in front. Okay, so I'll just make sure that we have someone. Van de Ven is fast. You're gonna tell me that you're gonna there's no logic behind it, and you got to put Rashford on the left. We have a striker issue. Martial's injured. The new boy is injured, but during preseason, you played Sancho as a false nine, and he mastered it. So play him. But you're playing Ant. I just don't understand why Anthony's on the pitch. I'm just gonna be very real. I don't know why he's there. It's got to a point where in my group chat we call him 21. We don't even call him his name.
Yeah, I can imagine. The shame. He brings shame to the club.
He brings shame to the club. He brings shame to me, and I don't want to be shamed. It's annoying. It's very annoying. So he needs to figure it out fast. I'm getting fed up. I'm being honest. I've got time for the manager, but figure it out. It's 2 games in. We look poor. And if I'm being honest, we've got Arsenal in 2 weeks. I don't want to go into that game thinking, oh my God, we're going to get smashed. I want to feel like, we can go toe to toe with them. Not, shoot, Arsenal. I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to feel like that. So no, fix it up and fix it up fast, man. It's jarring.
I still think you'll be fine, man. I think there's still, very much like Chelsea, there's still a lot of things that you got a caveat into the way that the manager's trying to get the team to play. Just mentioned, obviously, Højlund, who we spoke about last week, is still to come in. He might bring a new lease of life to that team. I do think swapping Anthony for whatever player that needs to come into that team would be beneficial. But I think there's a lot of things that I think very much like Chelsea, there's things that are still a learn, test and trial and error. And it shouldn't be, I suppose, obviously, United are a bit further ahead in that. Like, they should be a bit further. They should be a bit more comfortable playing against Spurs without Harry Kane. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we are still, and we shouldn't be because we spent a lot of money, but we still are with a new manager, loads of new players still coming in. We're trying to find our feet a little bit and find our way. But before we move on from United and Spurs, I want to talk quickly about Harry Kane because we didn't speak about him last week. And it's obviously a question that kind of answers itself at the moment. But Spurs look okay without Harry Kane. They look like they can still function without Harry Kane. I know there's a lot of pressure, a lot of talk now about Richarlison stepping into them boots, but I feel like Maddison coming into that team is going to be a breath of fresh air for them. It's obviously coming in. He's done well so far, and I think Son has to step up. But do you feel that? Because obviously we're having this conversation, week 2 has just passed. We're coming into week 3 at the Premier League. But do you feel that they can carry on doing that for the next couple of months in the Premier League? Because, it's going to be difficult games. I'm not saying that United wasn't a difficult game for them, but I just mean, games are going to come thick and fast, and there's going to be periods where they might lose a player, they might lose a Heung-min Son, or they might lose a James Maddison. So can they carry on doing that for the whole season, or do you expect them to dip off at some point?
I think they'll be okay. I think they're going to be fine. I think with Spurs, I think their big issue is depth. If they lose a player like Harry Kane, obviously, I don't think Richarlison is going to be the guy to lead the line. They need to sign a striker. I will go as far to say, knowing that now next season, the Champions League, England can have 5 teams because of the new format. it wouldn't surprise me to see them finish in the top 5. The reason I say that is I just feel like if they are lucky enough to stay injury free for the most part, or they add maybe 1 or 2 players in positions where you can say, yeah, bring this player and bring this player, especially up front, because they need someone now bring numbers. And Harry Kane was never to the detriment of Tottenham, never. But this is a situation where you can look at your team and say, if we bring in a striker, they are very hard to find these days, gunmen. But if you find a striker that can hit at least 50 or 15 to 20 for the season, even that is a good milestone. Just to and it can help the team get more goals in and around him. Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I don't see any reason why they can't challenge for a top 5 spot this season. Looking at how they've started, looking at how he's looking to build a team, and I feel like he wanted Maddison because Harry Kane was screaming for that. Without saying it, he was screaming for it. Harry Kane will drop back so much to make sure that he can get some sort of forward football going.
Yeah,
James Maddison is that creative player that he's been craving. They didn't replace Eriksen until this summer. That's how I see it.
True.
So for me, yeah, I think if Kane had stayed, he would have been a drain with him. And I will dare to say that if Kane was playing against Man United on the weekend, we wouldn't be talking about 2-0. We'd be talking about 4 or 5. But you know, they I think they'll be fine. And I think they needed it. Just like you guys with Hazard, at some point, it felt like the focus on Hazard needed to go. Because you can tell me if I'm wrong, but in my humble opinion, the day that you guys became proper title contenders was when you guys signed Diego Costa and Fabregas, not Hazard alone. As great as Hazard was, as he was, those two would have been game changers for me. So, you know, Hazard going after, I know Lampard came in and he did it right in his first year, but I think Chelsea was so dependent on that one guy, they needed something to happen. And now your rebuild has started properly. Tottenham are at least in a decent position where their team isn't that old where they need to sign a couple of players, whereas you guys all lost your midfielders. They've got Bentancur, Bissouma, many other guys in there already. Skip is young enough. So add a few bits here and there, and they've got something to at least build upon. So, yeah, Kane moving was not the best thing for them, but they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Sometimes you need that.
I wanna move it. I do want to talk about Chelsea in a minute. I do want to quickly touch on him, but I want to talk about Everton, another team that I feel this could be their season where we see them drop out of the Premier League, because I look at their squad, I look at their team, I look at some of the players that they brought in, I just don't see. I mean, I watched their game on against Villa, and it could have been more than 4-0. I mean, they look like a team. They look like a pub team. Like they look like a team that has just been pulled together at the pub. They've had 4 or 5 pints, and they're just like, yeah, we'll just have a kick around at the local park. They don't look like a team. I mean, I mean, they spent a lot of money. Not just, I don't mean this season. I mean, over the last 10 years, say 8-10 years, they spent a lot of money to be hovering down there, sitting bottom of the Premier League with no goals. I think they've conceded 5 goals now, haven't they? I think already. Could this be the season Everton eventually go down?
Can't lie, I don't know how they survived last year, I don't know how they did it.
No, 2 seasons. Remember the season before? They nearly went down. I think they've done it with a couple of games left. Calvert-Lewin scored a winner against Crystal Palace, I think, or I can't remember what team it was, but they left it with a few games to go. But last season, it was to the wire. It was them or Leeds. And they've been flirting with that relegation for, let's say, 3 years now. They've been there, down there. I don't know, signing Ashley Young and signing Danjuma, who did not want to go to their club in the first place and ended up at Tottenham, has now ended up at Everton. Calvert-Lewin looks like he's injured his cheekbone. I don't know. I missed part of that game, the start of it, but he looks like he could be out. Maybe he can wear the face mask or whatever, but they don't get goals anywhere else in that team. They get goals by luck. They get the Corey goal that smashed one at the last game of the season last year. They get goals like that, and Sean Dyche is a good manager. He hasn't got the tools, I don't think. So, can you see them going down? Do you see them dropping out of the Premier League?
I do. I'm just trying to think. Are they worse than Luton? Are they worse than? Actually, no. I shouldn't think like that. Actually, because worse
I
than
think
doesn't
Luton
mean
will do
anything.
well. I think Luton will take points of clubs just because of that, though. Because I think, like you, I think it's just Luton. But when you overestimate a team, sometimes they can. I mean, that ground that they have there, that was it, Kenilworth Road, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough ground for some players to go to. It ain't going to be. I mean, I could be wrong. Initially I thought, yeah, it's going to be easy, 3 points, blah blah blah. We'll easily take 6 points off them home and away. But going to that game, that ground on like a Monday night, it's raining, it's cold.
Yeah.
It's difficult, man. Trust me, it could be difficult. But I agree with you. Are they worse than that? I'd say they probably are. I'm gonna be. I think Everton are worse than Luton. I do.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest. The reason I was going to retract my statement for a second, because I was just thinking, wait, worse than doesn't mean anything, because we've seen Leeds in the past be Champions League semi-finalist, and then everything just goes down the bin. So they could actually. I mean, the thing with Everton is Everton don't have an identity. They've had an owner come in and spend buckets of money. But the reason for me they need to stay in the division this year, they need to stay in the Premier League, is because it would be, and this is no disrespect to the Championship, but being brutally honest, it will be a damn shame for Everton to go down and open the new stadium in the division where they've not been for God knows how long. They need to. It's a Premier League stadium. It's a Premier League stadium. That's the kind of stadium that you will showcase. What the new one anyway, not Goodison, but the new one. That's a kind of stadium you showcase when you want to host the Euros, you want to host the World Cup. Look at our facilities. You showed that one. You showed Tottenham's one. Old Trafford, Anfield, they've got the history behind it. Stamford Bridge got the history behind it. Emirates is beautiful. It's been there since 2008 now, so it's got a bit of heritage. But they're building the stadium to be with the big boys. That's what they want to do. They want to put their stadium next to Anfield and say, we got a better stadium than you. But you can't open that in the Championship. You cannot do that. You just cannot do that. So if just for their sake, they better stay in the division. But you're right. I don't know where the girls come from, because I'm still to this day, bro. To this day, I'm still trying to figure out why a team that was in the relegation battle at the time with Burnley, signed a striker from Burnley that was not getting goals either, and Neil Morpay. I don't understand. And why is he still there?
So, listen, yeah. I do. I mean, I'm looking at their squad now. This is their squad currently. Like, there's striker options, and I don't even put Damari Gray in this. I don't know why he's classed as their strikers, because I wouldn't even class him as and I want him to go from there, because he's a good player. He doesn't even need to be there. He's only 27. He's got time to move on. But Calvert-Lewin, Neil Mopay, I think they just signed someone called Yusuf Shamiti, I think, as well. Young guy from Portugal, who's 19.
Okay.
Thomas Cannon, I think I've watched him at the development squad. I think he will be leading the line for them in the Premier League. So they haven't got anyone. You probably look at maybe Alex Iwobi to get a couple of goals this season, possibly. I mean, they haven't got. I'm just looking at the squad here. They have got anyone that will score goals for them. Not one person that will score them a goal. I can't see any of this team notching 10 goals this season. Not even Calvert-Lewin. So my worry for them is, and I agree with you, I think Luton, Sheffield United might be there or thereabouts. I mean, we could be thereabouts, let's be honest. We were 12th last season, but I'm just saying, like, anything can happen, like you said, Leeds going back to, the early 2000s when, let's say David O'Leary was there.
O'Leary, yeah.
And, they were high flying, they were doing well. And then they ended up in, even now, look at like Coventry. They've been in the Championship and League One, and I think even League Two at some point. Yeah. So bigger teams have fallen. Leicester won the Premier League. They're in the Championship again. So I think it will happen. I think this could be the season we see Everton go, and it is a shame. But you look at some of the signings that they've had in the previous years. I mean, just looking here now, there's some crazy ones. Even like Lukaku, 28 million. I know that was a good signing for them. James McCarthy, 13 million. Schneiderlin, 24 million. Yannick Bolasie, 25 million. Ashley Williams, 12 million. I mean, Steckelberg, 1 million. I mean, I don't, did he play many games? I don't know. Sigurdsson, obviously, he's cleared of his charges now, so I can talk about him, but
he got cleared?
Yeah, he got cleared of them. He got cleared.
Okay.
Although I read, I think he was playing somewhere else. So, he was in like another league somewhere, and I think they've had to terminate his contract somewhere recently. He signed for someone and they terminated his contract for some reason. But 45 million for Sigurdsson is crazy when you think back to it now. Tossen, 27 million. Vlasic, 10 million.
Wow.
I mean, Davy Klazan, 23.6 million.
Davy Klazan's still there?
No, he's gone now. I think he's gone, but
Okay.
I'm going back to like 17, 18 season. Moise Keane, 27.5 million. Richarlison, 35. Yeremina, 27. Wait. Oh no, it must be the same one. I thought they signed Moise Keane twice. It can't be that stupid. But even like Fabian Delph, 10 million. Like, I mean, it's just a weird club for me, in my opinion, for them to be where they are. They should not be down there at that. For me, anyway, they should not be where they are. But here we go. We've got someone saying kudos to West Ham. Green ticks. What's your thoughts on Kudus? Because I mean, I'll be honest, I wanted him at Chelsea, but what's your thoughts on him? Good signing for West Ham if that is true that they've signed him. We just spoke about. Well, we're going to talk about West Ham now, actually, because obviously they battered to an extent Chelsea. To an extent, I mean, I thought we were the better team in the first half. I thought that was the best performance from Raheem Sterling that I've seen at Chelsea. Yeah. And I thought, the first half he was unlucky in spells, and Nicholas Jackson was trying to link up with him. The give and go was working, but when you don't take your chances, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And there was a big talk on Monday Night Football about encroachment with Souček with the penalty with Enzo. I mean, if he tucks that away, I don't think anyone even cares that Souček's in the box and he's the one that clears it, and the penalty should have been retaken. But I just think, we've got to take these chances, because West Ham were deadly at times in the second half. And when I say deadly, I don't mean they played amazing football. They had Antonio sat on a halfway line waiting for the counter-attack, and it worked. And that's how we got his goal. The first goal, James Ward-Prowse, I mean, we know what it's like from corners and free kicks, so you expect that. We should have been much better defensively in terms of that man marking. It just didn't work. I think it was Conor Gallagher that was marking. I can't remember who scored the goal now, but whoever scored the goal for West Ham. It was pointless. It was a pointless thing. So I didn't get that. And then obviously Caicedo gives away the penalty. I mean, boy, what a debut, man. What a debut to come into your club and give away a penalty. And he looked distraught after the game. When the game ended, he was like, I'm gonna play my best for Chelsea for the next however many years, 8 years he's here for. But I think that is a good signing for either club. I think if that is what we're saying here, that it's a here we go moment for Fabrizio is probably getting his here we go ready, then kudos to West Ham, because they've got a really good player that there. But what do you think of him as a player? Do you think he's a good player? Do you think he'll suit the Premier League?
Yeah, no, I think he's good. Technically, he's very, very smooth with the ball. Strikes the ball well. Positioning wise, he's quite aware of where he needs to be, whether he's playing centre midfield, as a winger, or as a attacking midfielder. So he's quite effective in those roles. All positions, in terms of roles, he likes to be creative, but he can also play a bit of a box to box. He's a bit of a ball carrier. Not the cleanest dribbler, I'll just say that right now. But those players that are sort of dribble effective. They don't look pleasant to watch, but they'll deal with you no matter what. So it's a good signing for West Ham. And more than anything as well, he's starting at West Ham. He's starting at West Ham. Unless David Moyes is, I don't know, drinking black pudding or something, you're gonna start the boy. The guy is good. The guy is really good, and it's a serious upgrade on what they currently have in terms of centre midfield and centre attacking midfield options as well. So I'm a fan. Trying to keep it to that, because my Ghanaian bias might come out a bit more, but but no, overall he's a good player. And yeah, to be honest, any of us would have been lucky to have him, because I would have wanted him at United as well. I think he started United. I think he'd be
100%.
I think he'd be more of a maybe a bench player at Arsenal, just because I think they are a bit more certified with their 11. They don't really want to change it. You know, when Jesus comes back, Jesus is definitely going into that number 9 role, so Nketiah is enjoying it whilst he can. With Chelsea, the opportunity to become a starter is there, because obviously you guys are bringing in so many players that you try to, now it's up to Poch to find his best 11 with those players and get the rotation good enough. So there's a good opportunity there as well. But yeah, no, West Ham, good signing. I think a player they needed in that midfield. So, and Ornstein literally just tweeted it out. So I think that's a go. I think we're looking at.
I've just seen that.
So we're looking at a certified deal. So yeah, kudos if you are by some chance listening to us. Plasto, Auntie Kate's, I'm gonna give you that fufu. Let's go chop, man. That's it.
We'll make sure we use that as a soundbite, man. We're gonna have to, but yeah, 100%. But yeah, literally before we get into the Mason Greenwood, because I want to talk about that next. And I don't know how I've made this howler, but I've left my charger for my laptop, so I'm gonna have to just pause the live stream for a minute and go and get a charger. But we'll be back, man. I'll be back in literally 60 seconds, man. We'll be back, man.
All right.
I'm back. That was the quickest run downstairs I've done in my life, but we're back. We're back. Like it never happened. But yeah, no, I want to talk about obviously Mason Greenwood, because a lot's happened in the last, well, I'd say 24 hours, 48 hours, but prior to that as well, there's been a lot of to-ing and fro-ing, I think, from the club, from Mason Greenwood's representatives and everything else, and really to give context as well to the story, and for people that may not know who haven't been following the story, obviously a lot happened. I feel like it was 2 years ago now. It's 2 years.
It was, yeah.
Some time ago. It was a while ago. Obviously a lot of I don't want to say physical, sexual abuse, or whatever how you want to decorate that conversation, maybe for a separate podcast. But whatever happened, it meant that obviously Mason Greenwood had to be suspended, went to court. It was a criminal charge brought against him that was later dropped, and he was cleared of all charges. And I think Man United at the time, I think suspended him for a while. He returned back to the club. He was back training individually away from, I think, from the first team, but I'm not sure whether it was Carrington or whether it was somewhere separate, but he was still training to keep himself fit in anticipation that he would have a role to play at Man United at some point. So I believe. So if I've got any of that wrong, then so please comment and correct me. But United have then since come out and said that he won't be part of the club anymore. There's a mutual agreement from player, club, that they feel that he should move on. The player feels that as well. I just want to get your thoughts on that, because, and I didn't want to speak about this until it kind of got resolved. But before we came on recording, you said that it might not be resolved. So What's your initial thoughts? Initially, on the initial statement that came out on Monday, I think it was, or Tuesday, to say that the club had sort of parted ways and player was parting ways as well. What was your initial thoughts? Is that the right call as well? Is that what should have happened, 18 months ago or whatever, or 6 months ago?
I mean, for me, I didn't want him at the club as soon as the stuff on social media was posted. For me, that was job done. And the reason I didn't want it is because I'm going to be very careful here. We get to see a snippet of what's actually happened. We got social media posts. We don't know what's happened over a lifespan of when they've been together. Him and his girl, right? And the thing about it is, I don't think there's any smoke without fire. I don't think, even if he'll come and tell me that didn't happen, I feel like something did happen where she felt threatened, where she felt scared, and dare I say, use the word, where she was abused. Now, when it comes to the statement, I think the main statement was a load of BS. And the reason I say it's a load of BS is because essentially what that statement was is we did our own investigation alongside, obviously, the police. We found out whatever we could find out, worked with the family of the victim. And in our opinion, he's innocent. We found nothing wrong. He's innocent. But we have spoken to him. And this is the thing that irks me. It's not that this mutual agreement thing for me is BS. Essentially, what they made it look like in the statement is we were cool with him coming back, but you didn't want him here. So because of you, we're throwing him away. That's what it sounds like to me. Rather than a simple, we've agreed to part ways for the best interest of the club and for him to go away and, if he carries his career on elsewhere, wherever. But it made it look like you're blaming us. And my thing is, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think people were going to be comfortable because you said that you don't think he's done it? He wasn't. They made a statement in there where I think they said he was cleared of charges, or Mason Greenwood said that the charges were, he was cleared of, he was found innocent. That's the word. He was found innocent. Both of them said that. You weren't found innocent. A key witness, which in my United statement or Richard Arnold's statement, one of the two, said that the victim asked for the case to be dropped. So they didn't go to a court of law and he stood up in front of people and they gave the verdict as not guilty. It was dropped and there was evidence that came out that I guess maybe worked in his favor. So that in his side, okay, that can work in his favor, and I understand that. I'm not going to take that away from him. However, he also said in his statement, I didn't do any of those things, but I have made mistakes. So you've done something wrong. That for me is enough. Point blank period. I just don't want it here. I'm very strict on that because I know how I am. I know how I feel about things. That's just my thought. If you are a United fan that wanted Mason Greenwood back, do you? I made a statement on a podcast last week. I said, if he has to play for that club again, you will not catch me cheering him. I do not care, and I'm being very, very honest with this. Anyone that knows me knows how I'm this straight, direct with this. He could score the winner in a Champions League final. I'll sit there. Honestly, I'll sit there. Got to.
Yeah.
I'll be, when the full-time whistle blows, I'll be delighted that Manchester United have won the Champions League because it makes me feel back to the day of when I was in year 10 when Man United won the Champions League in 2008, or when I was in primary school and they won it in 99, and that's when I really understood because my dad was gassing me about football and Man United. And I was like, oh, okay, so winning Champions League, okay, like that's feeling back to then. But I can't have that feeling towards him. I cannot. And the biggest thing as well from this whole case that's irked me is I understand he's the footballer. I understand he's the high-profile person, player, wherever. But a lot of United fans didn't really consider the girl in this, and that's a big problem. Not when in these conversations, whether it's like podcasts or spaces on Twitter or social media, just threads or whatever. Not once did I say, or hear rather, someone say, "Oh, is she okay? What's going on with her?" Now, I don't expect her to make a statement. She's the victim. She can deal with it how she wants to, because God forbid anyone else goes through that kind of traumatic experience. She unfortunately did. So I'm not gonna sit there and say she should make a statement. She should do this. I want to know what's, because you I don't have the right to. No one does. It's up to her. It's absolutely up to her. So my thing is she okay? Now, if she's okay to continue being with him, apparently they've had now. Well, they're still together. They've had a child together. I'm not saying for that reason that's why United should, because I think we're all grown up enough to know that there's some people that have been in abusive relationships but have continued to have families with people. It's happened. So I don't know what's going on there. My main thing is she okay? Whether he plays for Man United or not doesn't concern me. Is she fine? Is she okay? Is this going to happen again? Because if so, she needs to be looked after. That's the main thing for me. But the reason why I said to you I don't think it's resolved is because they were talking about parting ways, and then credited journalists that are really good with Man United news, that are very much on it with Man United news, and it's very direct, it's very good, came out and said that there might be a plan where Man United loan him out and help him, I don't know, fix his image and integrate him back into the team maybe in a year or two. And the other reason being because they still want to, it's monetary purposes, Yeah. Bro, like, I've always said this: football is a nasty sport. Just like most sports and most businesses, when you get to talk about big money, it's nasty. It's never going to be clean. I understand that, but there's some circumstances where you just got to put all that to the side and say this can't run. You have to. That's what I firmly believe, anyway. So, I mean, I'm glad that he's not going to play for us. I'm not so sure if he's not going to play for Man United again, because he could. I don't know what's going to happen there.
I don't think he will. I don't think he can. I don't think he can.
I hope he can.
I think, and this is my own personal opinion, I think United have left it so long, and every now and again they've been testing the waters to see what the reaction's going to be. And I think the final one, and what they were doing, if you remember, well, the World Cup's been on, the Women's World Cup, is their backup thing was we're waiting for the players who play for United Women to come back to the club to get their opinion on things. So they always had that as their final little thing to say, we're not going to do anything until we've spoken to. You shouldn't even get to that. Like, let's be real. My job, anyone's job, he works day to day, whatever you do, whatever your profession. If them videos came out and your manager or your company found them and they were, you got called into your workplace for them, instant dismissal.
Facts.
Instant dismissal. It doesn't care what you do. If you're working with kids, children, women, a hospital, whatever, instant dismissal. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It don't matter. You don't even get to speak. You just empty your things. The door's there. Leave your pass with security, whatever. That's how it works. Now, because he's a professional footballer, things are slightly different because obviously he's contracted. There's millions at stake and blah, 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 and compensation. I think one of the things that should hopefully change when they do this thing now, when we sign in big players on 8-year, 9-year deals, is we should put something in their contract to say if they do something crazy like this, or they're accused of doing something crazy like this, instant dismissal, forget your compensation, forget whatever. And to be fair, even if they don't put that in there, United need to take a loss on him. It's unfortunate. You might lose, I don't know what his valuation was, whether it's 30, 40, 50 million, I don't know. But you take a loss because you know what? The repercussions of trying to play him are a lot worse, and they could probably hit you financially, cripple you more than if you play him.
Yeah.
So for me personally, there's no logical explanation why the moment he left court and he was cleared, because you're right. I mean, people keep saying, "Oh, but he should play because he's been cleared and he's found innocent." He wasn't found innocent. He didn't even get to trial. Remember, we didn't get to trial. So the jury didn't even get to decide if he was guilty or not guilty. The evidence wasn't submitted in court. The alleged victim, dropped the case before he even got to court. So to say he's innocent, and that offense is hard to get a conviction for anyway in court, regardless of the evidence. So you only have to go and check statistics to tell you that. But keeping it on football, I think he should definitely not play for the club again. There's no logical explanation why you'd have someone tarnishing the club's reputation. Like, to me, that's crazy to think that you would want someone who's expected to probably still do, footballers don't just train and go home. They're obligated to do, go and visit children in hospital. They're obligated to go to primary schools. They're obligated to go on this talk show, that talk show, and represent the club. They might have to go and speak at a women's refuge. You don't know. So you really want Mason Greenwood, where you've seen him, you've heard his voice on these videos, to go and do that? I'm going to stop before I say too much. But my point is that I think, you shouldn't have taken United this long to get to that decision. And I'd be very shocked if they even allow him to step out on the turf, even on a charity match at Old Trafford again, because I think there's too much at stake. And, this should have been wrapped up. The moment those videos hit the internet, bye, get out, don't come back. That's it. There's no other questions I need to ask. You just got to go, and all the best for the future, whatever your future looks like. That's it. Yeah. Even if he's not guilty, even if he says and it comes out it's not even him, sorry, we can't associate ourselves with someone who's been accused of these things. It's that simple, And I think if he played, I think it would have damaged United's season. 100%. I think had he played, I think it would have disrupted the season and derailed it completely. So I'm glad that he had. Well, from a Chelsea perspective, if I'm being honest, I mean, I need United to drop some points this season. But no, on a serious note, I think it would have disrupted everything that Ten Hag's trying to do. So I'm glad it's resolved to an extent. Hopefully your theory or your creditable sources are wrong, because I don't want to see him kicking ball anywhere. And there's link of him going to Saudi, and apparently they've said, "No, we don't want anything to do with you." So I'd love to know where the loan's going to be, I suppose.
What I'm going to say is, I haven't seen how Maynard have handled some things. Not as bad as this.
No, I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, it's especially since 2013. Yeah, man.
You could go back to America now, innit?
No names. But yeah, man.
Yeah, well, we'll move on from there. But let's talk Arsenal. We sort of spoke about them a bit. And, obviously they played relatively well against Crystal Palace, and credit to Crystal Palace because they kept it at 1-0 and they had their own chances. But Mikel Arteta, a manager, sorry, not a player. He should be a player because he's on the pitch more time than he's not. He doesn't stay in his technical area. But yeah, Mikel Arteta is doing very well at Arsenal off the back of last season. People called them title challengers. I don't know, man. I feel like they should be title winners last season. I don't think they weren't challengers. They were well ahead in December. Yeah. They should have won that league. So they weren't title challenging for me. They should have won the thing. So they flopped. Title flops, they should be called, not challenges. But anyway, I'm digressing. My point is they're looking very sharp. They've obviously added Declan Rice to that team. Do they have enough this season, though, to compete with Manchester City and actually push them properly for the league and even potentially go on to win it as well?
I think they do. I think the biggest problem Arsenal had last year that I think most teams, and in fact, most people do now, is they look at City and just make it look like, if I'm going to compete with City, I must have the same depth, I must have the same this, the same that before I can be on a level with them. You have been watching football, we're experienced. When we won the league, do you think Mourinho came, or rather Arsenal won the league, and then Mourinho came in and said, we must have the same level of talent as Arsenal? No, he got his football, played his philosophy, he kept on going with it. When we win the league 3 years in a row, then we signed Ronaldo, we signed Rooney, we signed Rio. Besides Ferguson, same thing, All right, Chelsea are doing their thing, Arsenal doing their thing. What are we going to do? We don't look at them. We look at ourselves. Arsenal's
100%.
biggest issue last year, and Gabriel Jesus said in an interview, and that's where it triggered me a little bit because I don't have any loyalty towards Arsenal, but I want to see a good title race. You cannot, especially when you're top of the league, keep winning games and then sit to yourself and say, "Oh, why can't City stop winning?" My guy, focus on you. Focus on you. You guys keep winning, because if you win your games, they don't catch you. It's very simple. No one wins 38. No one wins 38 out of 38. But if you win the most games in the league and you beat those guys, your rivals, most likely you're finishing on top of them. Do what you can. Don't look back and keep looking and saying, "Oh, Haaland keeps scoring goals. Oh, they're relentless." So what? Of course they are. They're supposed to be. They're supposed to be relentless, you know. So if Arsenal going to win the league this year, or even challenge very well, they need to stop thinking like that. And it goes for every other team as well, because I'm starting to get sick and tired of having conversations of what do we have to do to be like City or challenge City. The thing is, when Liverpool won the league, the year before or 2 years prior, they finished like 2 points behind City. Then they won the league. The following year, they crumbled. They finished way behind City. Or the year after, one of the two, right? Man United, when Arsenal went invincible and then Chelsea won the league 2 years in a row under Mourinho, Man United weren't close. But they won the league the next 3 years in a row. They closed the gap. That's what football is. That's what sport is. If you're going to win the league, if you're going to win the Grand National, if you're going to win the Ashes, if you're going to whatever competition it is, you can't sit there and think to beat them, we have to match them or beat this guy or stop. You have to be doing what your job is and make sure you're trying your best to win your games. You do that, you're onto a winner. Arsenal can't do that this year. If they're going to be serious, and I think they can be serious because adding Declan Rice, and he's been showing his quality already, I don't think Havertz is going to work for them. Havertz is taking time, and I feel like I can see, even though people would disagree with me, but I feel like I can see what he's trying to do with Havertz. It's not working yet with Arsenal, but it will work eventually. I think if you use those two properly, you get closer, and I think you win the title. But don't focus on City. Do not focus on City. You can't do that. Ancelotti didn't come into this league and say, "Oh, Man United have won the league 3 years in a row. Well, I need to make sure we have a front three that can compete with Rooney, Ronaldo, and Tevez. If we don't do that, we're not going to catch them." He said, "I've got my players. I've got Lampard. I've got Drogba. I got this guy. I got Deco. Why do I care about what Man United are doing?" You know what I mean? So
it's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I think if Arsenal I think Arsenal can challenge. I think Arsenal will challenge, and I think they need to stop this whole thinking about everybody else. Think about yourself.
I agree. I think Arsenal, and I can't remember where I positioned them in my predictions, and that's going to change. Whatever I predicted last week is going to change when we get to December and we do it again. But I think Arsenal look good. They look solid. And the thing with Arsenal, they can take certain players out their team and they still churn out that 1-0. They still churn out that result. If you remember back to, I think it was Villa, I'm sure it was Villa, and maybe Jorginho scored like a 96-minute winner or something. And when they do that, that's how you win the league. Like you just said, it ain't about what a City doing. Whatever the weather, we just need to win our game. And we do it as soon as the game kicks off to the final whistle, we try and score goals. And they did. I'm sure it was Villa last season. They've done it a few times where they got them little sneaky last-minute winners. That's how you win the league. That's how you got to push through and churn through the results. And obviously City are different. I mean, City do have the depth, and I've just been reading then that they've put an official bidding for Mateus Nunes from Wolves, 50 million. So that's that does give them more edge, in my opinion. They've obviously added Gvardiol as well, but who cares? I mean, we've seen teams. You're looking at a team that spent, like I said, close to £1 billion, and we don't look anywhere near as good as Arsenal. Now, obviously, there's reasons for that because of how we're trying to play football. We're trying to gel, get the team playing, and whatever else. And obviously, Arteta's a lot, ahead of us in that. But they haven't got a Gabriel Jesus. Emile Smith-Rowe was tipped to be one of the best footballers to come out of Arsenal for how long, and he's been injured, obviously, and he's slowly going to come back. So he was on the bench, I think, against Palace. unused. So when he's back fully fit, imagine what he's like. Imagine when they've got Gabriel Jesus and Martinelli and Havertz is clicking, and they might look at maybe bringing in, because I think they had Thomas Partey at right back, which I was a bit like, okay. But when they bring someone in that can probably play that role, remember the window doesn't shut for another 9 days or 10 days. When they bring someone in that can do that as well, they've got a solid squad. They've got players, Jorginho, that they can bring off the bench. So I think looking at them playing now, I think you can see signs of how, and he's got his own philosophy. I'm not saying he's carbon copied Pep at all, but you can see that he's still got that same kind of desire and kind of belief that what he's trying to install in these players, they're going to do it. If you don't do it, you're not playing, simple. And Pep's the same. You got to believe in what Pep's doing. If you don't believe in it, you're not playing. So yeah. I think they'll be there or thereabouts, man. But when we come back to December, I'm hoping they're not there or thereabouts. I want them 8th or 7th. You know what I'm saying? But before we move on from, and we wrap up, I should say, obviously Aston Villa back in European football for the first time in however many years. I mean,
13 years, I think,
yeah, man, they've been out of it for a while, and I know it's a Conference League, but people say that until they're in the final and they're there and they can win the trophy. So I think credit to them. They beat Hibernian tonight 5-0. Ollie Watkins hat trick. Can they go on all the way in that competition? Because I feel that they can. I know there's some really, and that's not to discredit any of the other teams in there, but Unai Emery is a good manager, and I think I said this either on this podcast or another podcast, but he loves these sort of tournaments. He loves the Europa League. He loves. I don't think he might have not have won the Conference League, obviously, but he loves these sort of tournaments. So can they go all the way and maybe cause a bit of a surprise in the Conference League?
I will go as far as to say that it wouldn't surprise me if they won it. I think they got a good team. I think Villa are very good. This is what Alex Ferguson was trying to allude to, and it drove Newcastle fans crazy. Saying that Aston Villa played good football and they conceded bad goals doesn't mean Newcastle didn't deserve their win. It just means they conceded bad goals. That's all it means. He said, look, I saw how they played football. I saw how they tried to move the ball. Unfortunately for them, they conceded stupid goals. Like they did. Konsa, for one of Isaac's goals, was an absolute he was a mess. He was an absolute mess. There's nothing wrong with that. But you saw the following week just how devastating they can be. There's nothing wrong with that, I think they're a good team. Man. I think they can win it. I think they will win it. Douglas Luiz, quality. Huh?
I was going to say there are some difficult teams in there though. Club Brugge, Besiktas, Osasuna, Fenerbahce, AZ Alkmaar.
They are small teams. They are good teams.
Lille. So is that Fiorentina's in there as well? I didn't even know that. So there's some good teams in there.
But I'm still gonna say Villa are my favourites, and it's not a Premier League bias thing. I'm looking at the recruitment this summer. I'm looking at the scheme they've built. I am a La Liga stan. Osasuna are a decent side, but I don't think they have enough to beat Villa. They can trouble Villa, and on their day they can beat you absolutely, just like most teams. But no, I think Villa on their day they have too much for them, and that's not discrediting Osasuna. Fiorentina have always been a very good team in Serie A. Lille they're actually a very, very capable, solid team in Ligue 1. But yeah, Villa for me, especially adding Pau Torres, you've got that depth in the back line. You got 4 good centre backs. They've added that fullback positions. Midfield is solid. John McGinn is looking good again. The wingers, adding Diaby was a masterstroke. I think they're going to be fine, man. I think they'll win it, and I think they are in line for a top 7 finish in the Premier League this year, also as well. I think so. So I'm gonna give them praise. I think they're a good team. I don't think they are. I don't think they should be anyone's second favorite to win the Conference League. I think they should be first, and I'd be surprised if they didn't go far in the competition. And of course, you mentioned it, Unai Emery. Competition-wise, when it comes to Europa League, he's mastered it. So
you don't mess around.
Conference League, exactly. So Conference League, I mean, you've had Mourinho and David Moyes are the 2 winners so far. I think you can add Unai Emery to that list by next season. So yeah, man, I want to go out on a limb and say they're my winners already.
I'm going to back that as well. I'm going to back that I'm gonna back that. I think that's gonna happen. I do. Final word. So we spoke about Everton. I've just checked their last 3 fixtures. I'm gonna add 4 fixtures actually. So this is running from 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and last game of the season. So they got Brentford, then they play Luton,
Okay.
Sheffield United, then they end the season against Arsenal. So should they be down there, you're talking about Luton, who we spoke about, might be down there if they don't. It's going to go one or two ways with Luton. Sheffield United could be down there as well. But imagine that final day. Arsenal are 2 points off the top of the league, or they need a point to win the league.
Yeah.
And Everton need a point or two to stay up. But it's good. I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, we're not Mystic Megs, but we'll have to see how that pans out, man, because it's going to be lively come the end of the season for them.
It could be peak for them. But again, I mean, we've spoken about Everton and how they've somehow survived. It would be very Everton to go to Sheffield United and Luton and beat them and stay in the league and then go to Arsenal safe and just be like, all right, cool, Arsenal, do your thing. It would be very Everton. But yeah, I don't know where the girls come from this year. I just don't know, man. So I know it's not a prediction thing, but if you're going to ask me to predict, I think they finish 17th or 18th.
18th ain't good enough.
No, 18th ain't good enough. 18th, you're opening a new stadium when you play Birmingham City. I know Birmingham City ain't get promoted either. So.
Bramley-Moore Docks will be in the championship, man. But yeah, no, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let us know you think who's going down, who's staying up. Can Villa push on and win the Conference League as well? Are Spurs going to carry on with this lovely football that they seem to be playing under Ange? I'm not going to do his surname either because I don't know how to pronounce it. Chelsea, how do they look? Are they going to get a win against Luton on Friday as well? It's a big game for Chelsea. They need points to make sure they don't lose momentum this season as well. Obviously, United. Who have United got this weekend, actually? I feel like it's a big game for you.
We got Nottingham Forest at Old Trafford.
It's a big game. Let's be honest.
It is,
It's a big game. So yeah, should be interesting there at Old Trafford as well. Let us know your thoughts. YouTube, subscribe. Make sure you hit the link tree as well. Takes you to the podcast, all of that stuff as well. Kojo, I'm not going to call you a guest anymore, man. You're like the co-host. Kojo, the co-host. What are we talking about? You're not a guest anymore, man. But yeah, always good to chop it up and talk football, man.
Always.
Style of play and all that. But you also do have your own podcast as well. So just run that as always, man. Where can the man then find you and the women as well?
Of course.
Free Midfield Podcast.
Exactly. Free Midfield Podcast, all over YouTube and Spotify, SoundCloud for podcasts. If anyone's keen, keep an eye on it. We have a new logo. We've got a new intro video coming out soon. That's when we're going to kickstart the things. We wanted to get it done for the beginning of the season, but the guy he does our videos. He's really good. He wants to make sure that this new project is hitting the way it should hit. So it might even be a new soundtrack. We might miss the old song. It's been a while, man. So
you gotta keep that, man. What are you talking about?
We're thinking about it. We're thinking about even doing like a little remix of it and then getting one of my friends who I'll shout him out, AT the Philosopher, great rapper. And I'm gonna say this right now. I do not promote podcasts or rappers or singers unless I believe in them. If I don't think you're good, I don't say anything.
You don't hear nothing.
So I just don't mention your name whatsoever because there's no need. This guy is good, so listen to his stuff. He had a song recently called Cindy Lauper that he brought out. So if you want to check that out, check that out. Free Midfield, you can find us everywhere. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Good stuff, man. And we'll be back next week, of course. Style of play. Thank you very much for listening. Episode 2 out the way. Let me know your thoughts about the podcast. What do we need to do different as well, man? I'm all for adding stuff to it, taking things away, man. But appreciate everyone who's listening so far, and we'll be back next week.